Okay, so today is just going to be some practice problems. Now, you must factor completely, which means the first thing you need to do is look for a GCF. Okay, after you see if there's a GCF, see if it's a binomial, which means all you can do is a GCF, or you can do difference of squares. And then the third thing you're going to look at is if it's a trinomial. That means you need to do your add and multiply table for me. Okay, so I'm only going to do the first few with you, and then you have to complete the back. So when I have x squared plus 12x plus 35, first thing I'm going to do is look for a GCF. Well, my smallest number is 1. So 1 doesn't do anything, and they all don't have an x. So this one has no GCF. Okay, so now I see if it's a binomial or a trinomial. Since it's a trinomial, I'm going to go straight to my add and my multiply table. I must add to 12, but multiply to 35. So 1 and 35, and 5 and 7. Am I missing a multiple? Whoa, I'm way too high. Okay, 1 and 35, 5 and 7. So those are the correct ones. The plus sign in the back tells me signs are the same and that they are both positive. So 5 and 7 are the ones that add to 12. So I open up my factors and I do x plus 5 and x plus 7. Okay, for example 2, again, the first thing I'm going to do is look to see if there's a GCF. My smallest number is a 1, so I can't divide a 1 out. They don't all have an n, so again, there's no GCF. So I'm going to go straight to my add and my multiply tables because this is a trinomial. I must add to 12 and multiply to 32. Okay, that's it. Okay, a plus and a plus tell me both my signs are positive, so 4 and 8 are my multiples, and I'm going to do n plus 4 and n plus 8. Okay, for example 3, first thing I do is look for a GCF. Well, they both have a letter, so I know I can take a letter out. Okay, once I take that letter out, b squared divided by b is b, and 5b divided by b is 5. Okay, now I check to see if it's a difference of squares. Since this is not a difference, that's my final answer. All it was GCF. Okay, for number 4, first thing I do is look for a GCF. My smallest number is 5, and they don't all share a letter, but they are all divisible by 5. So I am going to get, excuse me. Okay, we're going to get p squared plus 5p minus 24. Okay, now I go to my add and my multiply table. I must add to 5 and multiply to negative 24. Okay, minus in the back tells me signs are opposite and that the big number is positive, so I'm going to make all the small numbers negative. And then negative 3 and 8 are what gets me to 5. So I keep my GCF, and I'm going to do p minus 3, and I'm going to do p plus 8. Okay, for number 5, my biggest number is a 1, so I can't divide by 1, and they don't all have x's, so there's no GCF again. So for this one, what I'm going to do is go straight to my add and multiply table because it's a trinomial. I need to add to 20 and multiply to 100. Okay, so I'm thinking of more multiples, but they're not all coming to my brain. It's after school, I'm tired. So my next one would be 10 and 10. Should have known that, Mrs. Henson. All right, so now a plus plus tells me my signs are the same and they're both positive. So 10 and 10 is my answer. And I'm going to do x plus 10 and x plus 10, or you can do x plus 10 squared because that's the same thing. Okay, for number 6, I'm going to look for a GCF first. My smallest number is a 5, and I can divide both of these by 5. They also both have an m, so I'm going to take out m. Okay, when I do that, I'm going to take out 5m. This becomes an m minus 9. Excuse me. Okay, from here, I got to check to see if it's a difference of squares or if it is just GCF. Since this is not squared, this is done and you cannot do anything else. Okay, for number 3, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for that GCF. My smallest number is 3, so I need to see if I can divide 3 out, which I can divide out a 3. So I'm going to divide by 3. I can't take out an a because there are a's in all of them. When I take out 3, that leaves me with a squared plus 4a plus 4. So now I do my add and multiply table. I need to add to 4 and multiply to 4. Okay, again, it's a plus plus, so my signs stay the same, and I'm going to use 2 and 2. I keep my 3, and I do a plus 2, or again, you could write this one with keeping your GCF and do a plus 2 squared. Okay, for number 5, I need to see if I have a GCF. I'm going to look at my smallest number. My smallest number is 5, and 5 can come out of all of them. Okay, when I take out 5, that leaves me with x squared minus 8x plus not 20. I am so brain dead. 16. Okay, now I do my add and my multiply table. I'm going to add to negative 8, but multiply to 16. Okay, signs are the same. Both are negative, so I'm going to go ahead and change all my signs, and this is the one that adds to negative 8. I keep my GCF, and I have x minus 4, x minus 4. Sorry, one second, guys. Okay, from here, that's my answer. I'm going to move to number 9. Okay, I have 16x squared minus 25. Okay, those two numbers, I don't know. 16 is a big number, so what I'm going to do is math, go over to number 9. I'm going to put in 16 and 25 just to see if there's a GCF, and it gave me 1, so there's not a GCF. So this problem has no GCF. So now I have to look, so following back up to my instructions, I got to look to see if it's a binomial, it's either going to have a GCF or it's difference of squares. Well, there's not a GCF, so this has to be a difference of squares or it's prime. Since it is a difference, I got to see if I can split these. And 16x squared can become 4x, and 25 can become 5. So remember, for a difference of squares, you automatically put a plus and a minus. 16x squared is 4x, 25 is 5, and that is your answer. Okay, for number 10, 25p squared minus 9. This is again, there is no GCF to come out, so this is a binomial. It is subtraction. They are perfect squares. That will split to 5p and that will split to 3. So I'm going to do 5p plus 3 and 5p minus 3. Okay, for number 11, I do have a GCF this time. I'm going to start with 2, which is my smallest number, and I can take out a 2. When I take out 2, I have a squared minus 25. Now, for this piece, I got to see if it's a difference of squares or if I'm done. And this is a difference of squares, so that splits to a and that splits to 5. So I'm going to have 2 times a plus 5 times a minus 5. Okay, for my last example, I have 48 and negative 75. Again, that's a really big one, so I'm going to go math number 9. We're going to put in 48. We're going to put in 75. And it says my GCF is 3. So when I divide by 3, I'm going to get 16n squared minus 25. Okay, I've already taken a GCF out. So now this is either done or this is perfect squares. And these are perfect squares. They split to 4n and they split to 5. So from here, I have 3 times 4n plus 5 times 4n minus 5. Okay, now you have an example of each one. So remember, always look for a GCF first. You're going to flip this over and you are going to complete the back. If you have questions, let me know.